Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish and our monthly training. So for all of you who want to see the slides and interact, please go over to YouTube. The video will be over there as well because it will be promoted as a podcast. So welcome. Before we get started, I want to tell you guys about a really exciting new product that I'm doing with Podetize. If you've ever heard of fractional ads, if you went out and tried to get an ad for your book today on major networks, it would be $7,000 a month. We are doing a fractional program with the Hazards. And as part of that program, I was a part of it last year. I actually watched when they used the AI, my podcast go from about 2,000 listeners a week to between 20 and 22,000 a week. So getting in front of people in those major networks is really helpful. So we are partnering with them and we have a 3-month ad program where you're going to do some voiceover, some 15-minute spots, and we'll do the graphics for it. And we will run those ads. Those ads get about 500,000 impressions a month, and average about 300 to 600 clicks a month. So we're going to be running that 3-month program for your book for $1,500 a month, which is not a month, $1,500 for 3 months. We're getting it down that finite, which sure beats $7,000 a month if you want that major media exposure. So if that's something that interests you, reach out, talk to me about it, and we'll get you going. But I can tell you my own results were astounding, and I'm putting my book on it now that I've seen the results of the last year. So with that said, today's guest is Leisa Reid. And if you guys don't know Leisa, she's so cute. You're going to love her. Leisa is the do you want to be a speaker girl, but you don't know where to go and find gigs. And as the founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now, Leisa trains entrepreneurs who want to use public speaking as a soul-fulfilling marketing strategy. Clients who work closely with her build their speaking skills and confidence through Speakers Training Academy, and they get their talks ready to rock and learn how to stay booked as speakers through an easy process she gives you to implement those. And she's going to talk about those today. And I'm super excited because every single one of you, with the exception of Bob on this call, has a book. And Bob, you're going to have to get one soon. So you should be out speaking. So Leisa, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Julia. So excited to be here. And because I love to give prizes to early birds. So because you're here live, you get to ask your questions as we go through this. Feel free to stop me at any point or put a question in the chat because I'm really here for you. Yes, I have plans. I've got things I'm going to share, but I'm happy to make it custom for whatever you're needing today. And for those of you watching the recording, I'm sure you'll learn something about something to do with speaking because someone asked a great question that is also relevant to you. So quick show of hands here. Who in here is already a speaker? Anybody? Okay, got Bob, Dr. Bob there. Oh, everybody. Chris, we're waiting for you. She's got one finger up here.
Of sorta. That's kind of like,
yeah, sort of, kind of.
Working on it.
Sort of, kind of. I'm not sure yet. Maybe thinking about doing it. So speaking is really fun way. I think it's one of the funnest ways and easiest ways to generate clients, develop business for yourself, especially if you have something to teach about or you have some value you can bring, which if you've written a book, I'm guessing that you have value to bring. And a lot of times after we've lived a certain amount of time, we also have a lot of value to bring, right? So we have a lot of wisdom. So let's see here. I'm going to share a little bit first. I'm going to be going back and forth with the slides. And again, I want to make sure that we address any of your questions. So I already said that, so we'll just keep going. Let's see here. Here's what we're going to cover today. These are some of the issues that I see out there with entrepreneurs or people trying to get into speaking. They're not sure how to get booked. Like they're like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know how to actually get booked. So we're going to talk about how to unlock your speaking book ability. Oftentimes they say, where would I go get booked? Like, what? How would I get that microphone in my hand? So we'll talk about uncovering treasure, just literally sitting in your own backyard if you're not aware of it. And then the method I use, the number one secret to a steady stream of speaking referrals. This has helped me. I've given over 600 talks at this point, and this has helped me really get those referrals without having to cold call. I find that a lot of times that when we're heart-centered or purpose-driven entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, we don't really want to cold call. I mean, I'll just do a quick stop share here for a second. Does anyone like cold calling and outreach and no message DMing people? Yeah, right. Dr. Bob's like, no, I don't like it either. I've done it. I'm really good at it, but I never enjoyed it. So I thought when I was starting speaking, I got to find a better way. So I'm going to share that methodology with you. All right. Yeah, cuz we don't want to be doing more of that. We want to do what we love. A little bit about me. I am a mom. My daughter's in grad school right now. I'm a wife as well. My husband's a golf instructor. I do not play golf. I've never played golf, like literally. Asked him, I know, Juliet. I asked him on our very first date. I said, "Should I learn how to play golf?" And he said, "No, don't worry about it." And I just kind of took him at his word and never, and he's never asked me to do it since. A dog mom as well. This is my director of operations here, and I'm a podcast host. So we're on a podcast right now too, kind of a video podcast. And I have a podcast, which actually Juliet and Chris have been on because I host it with one of my childhood best friends. We grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska together, which we neither of us live there now. And we interview other best friends. So kind of the power of friendship. It's really, really fun podcast. And if that interests you, you're welcome to reach out to me and be a guest. So I started speaking officially in 2013. And that first year I booked 83 speaking engagements in my local area. And I used it as a way to generate clients and to bring people into this workshop that I was representing a company, and that's what they would do. Remember, I was telling you I was doing all that cold calling, right? So that wasn't super fun. So I thought there's got to be a better way. And I started a group, a networking group. Now it's called the International Speaker Network. So that's been one of my secret weapons and absolutely love our community. I didn't start my company until after I started talking to all the speakers, and they would always ask me for help. They'd say, "How do you get so many speaking gigs, Lisa? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And it literally took me a few years. Like I just was like, I don't know, I'm I'm just doing what I do. And what I thought was easy clearly wasn't easy for everyone else. So then that's literally why I called my company Get Speaking Gigs Now, because that's what people were asking me for. And now like Juliet said, I'll help people get their talk ready to rock, meaning like it could be I've had medical doctors get their talks done. I've had, holistic healers. I've had Christians, like, like Christian leaders, accountants, all different types of people getting their talk ready to rock. And we do that also through the Speakers Training Academy. So that's a little bit about me. I will let you know too, behind the scenes here, I'm just going to stop the share really quick. When you're speaking, you want to do two things. So this is a secret tip. You want to build rapport and build authority, right? So why would I show a picture of my dog? Why would I show a picture of my daughter? Why would I show a picture of my husband or my podcast that doesn't have to do with speaking? Because we want to allow people a chance to kind of go, who is this person? Do I like this person? Am I interested in this person? Are they kind of my kind of person? And then we also want to say, why should I listen to them? Like, do they have something that I don't have? Like, do they have some kind of expertise that I don't have? And that's where we want to build the authority. So you can do that in your bio slide, which is what we just went through, right? And you can tell a story, and it can be with pictures. It doesn't have to be exactly how I did mine, but do you get the idea? You want to kind of give people a little bit of the highlights. It's like the highlight reel. But you don't want to be all braggadocious either, but you do want to let people know, hey, I've done some work here and this is what I'm bringing to the table. Okay, was that helpful? Say yes or yes. Yes. Okay, good. Yeah. Because you're a small group here, you guys get some little insider tips, and because you're part of Juliet's community. So I want to make sure not everyone knows these things. Sometimes we've seen a lot of speakers, but we don't really realize what's going on behind the scenes. So that's a behind the scener tip. Okay, so we're going to go on to our first tip. How do you unlock your speaking book ability? Well, luckily, I already saw everyone's hands up that you are a speaker. But what I have found is that a lot of times people want to be a speaker, but they're not really sure how to like get more bookings. And I've met thousands of speakers in my day, and I know one thing that they all want is to get on more stages. That has not changed. So the big tip is you need to be ready to say yes to whatever level you are at when it comes to speaking. What does that mean? Well, you need to have those ducks in a row. And I'm going to point out like 3 different things that I would highly recommend you do at least first of all. But then there might be some other things that you've been sitting on or procrastinating on or just like stuck on, not sure how to do or know what's on your to-do list. So we're going to use that time to share. So the first thing I always say is get your talk ready to rock. And that's what I like to call it. But, I used to call it, get your presentation ready, whatever you need, get your signature talk done, however you want to phrase it. When you decide to be a speaker and you put it on your LinkedIn profile, you put it on your website, announce it to the world, the first question people will ask is, "Oh, what do you speak about?" And if you do not have that answer, it's kind of like you're already failing before you get started. So very important to me to have your talk ready to rock. And I'll even stop to share really quick. In my world, what that means is you want to have an attractive title. You want to have compelling learning points. You want to have a short, sweet description that's like attractive to the meeting planner, right? It's You got to figure out where you are in the sales cycle when it comes to your talk. Who's going to be deciding if you're going to be providing value to their audience? The meeting planner, the person in charge, the leader of the community, the leader of the organization, whatever that is. So they don't want to read a novel. So we need to make it short, sweet, compelling, and it's saying you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And that's usually pretty confusing for people, especially because have you ever heard of that metaphor of like not being able to see the label from inside the bottle? We get so close to our stuff. We know so much. We have so much to offer. Decades of knowledge. How in the world are we going to narrow that down to a half an hour? What? Are you kidding me? So that is usually where the problem lies. Is like what pieces am I going to pull from my expertise to put in this capsule? Can anyone relate to this? Right? Am I not the only one? Right? Yeah. Like we can't tell them everything. We have to decide what are we going to do, and then you can always create other talks. Usually, when I'm with someone working on that, I'll say, well, what you just shared with me is like 4 talks. So we need to like make a decision and we're going to pick one first. You can always do the other ones later, but we have to like put our stake in the ground. Okay. Second thing is we need to decide. I'll put this back up here so you can see. We need to figure out what is our speaking avatar, our ideal speaking avatar. What that means in my world is, are we speaking mostly in person? Are we speaking virtually? What types of groups are we speaking to? What types of audience would have our prospective clients in? What is it, a paid speaking engagement? Is it speaking for free to develop business? What's the methodology? Are we doing summits? Are we doing a combination of all these? I don't know. Every single person I work with has a different amalgamation of that. It also has to do with what kind of personality do you have? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Do you want to travel? Do you not want to travel? What's your situation? Where do you live? Do you live in a big city where there's lots of opportunities just right next door? Or do you need to be in a situation where you know you're going to need to get on a plane? All these things come into play. And there's not like a wrong answer here. But what I find is that we could get easily swayed, like thinking, oh, I have to take that opportunity. Or if I don't take that opportunity, then there'll never be another opportunity. And we say yes to things that we don't actually want to do or don't feel right about. And because we think we need to do it. And when you're really clear on your speaking avatar, then you're coming from a place of like, no, grounded centeredness. Like this is actually good for me. This is a good choice for my business. This makes sense. And that's where we really want to be. And you might do a combination of any of those methodologies that I just talked about. And then the other thing we need to be ready on, and I'm emphasizing this because I work a lot with people on this, the clear invitation to the next step, otherwise known as your CTA, right? Your call to action. This is another challenge for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, people who want to really give, 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 right? Because a lot of us are very heart-centered. We want to give a lot of value, and then we can sometimes forget to give to our business or get unclear on that, or maybe have never had sales training. In fact, not to pick on you, Dr. Bob, but I've worked with different people from the medical industry, from the law industry. They don't teach you sales and marketing in medical school. Like they don't teach you medical sales and marketing in law school, or when you become an accountant. Even as a business major, you might not ever get a class in sales. You might get one on marketing. So it's kind of tricky. We start our own business and then we're like, wait, what? I have to do sales and what? Who? I didn't. Like, has anyone ever felt that way where you're like, I didn't sign up to be in sales. I want to help people. I want to serve people, right? But it's part of the equation. How do we do it in a way that doesn't feel creepy, salesy, pressury, icky, right? But we need to, again, put our stake in the ground and make a decision. Okay. So helpful so far? Are we good? I'm not sure. I don't know all of your backgrounds yet. So I'm not sure, like, you're like, I've already done all this. Or they're like, oh, this is new information. Either way, I'm going to show you some demonstrations of some calls to action as we go through the process. Okay. Is everyone here already clear on their call to action? Okay. Okay. You can sit on your hands. Okay, great. Okay. All righty. So a couple other things that I would consider as I'm going through this next story is, what do you need to get ready to say yes? Like, you might have those three things. You might have like, oh yeah, she touched on a couple things. I do need to get those things done. There might be something else. It might be like, oh, speaker sheet, or my speaker page, or I need to get my bio done, my intros written, my testimonials, like my photos. Like, I don't. There's like so many different things that could keep us from being ready. I had one client who, she was hosting these really powerful events. She still does. Her community loves her. Like, they adore her. And she was confessing to me, I know everyone raves about my events, but no one is signing up. Like, I'm not getting enough signups for this. And so I was really, honored that she was comfortable to share that with me, because that's hard, when we're leading something and we're like trying to put on a good face that it's all working. But I'm here to have people confess to me stuff so that we can fix it. What we found out is that she wasn't really putting herself in the spotlight. It was really uncomfortable for her. She was such a giver. She wanted to give to everybody else and wasn't really letting herself shine because she felt icky about that. She felt like she didn't want to take attention from everyone. So what we did is we realized where she was hiding in the process. We were able to get her talk ready to rock in a way that she felt authentic in selling. She started to realize, oh, wow, this thing that I'm offering is really helpful for people, and I can invite them into this process without selling them. And that was a huge shift for her. She, on her next event, then was able to generate $18,000 in sales, which was a huge difference from what she had been doing before. So sometimes it's just a little degree difference that we don't see. We're like, I don't know, I'm doing everything I think I can do. It's like, I don't know what's wrong here. So we need to go in there and look and get another opinion. So just another point that you want to have that call to action really clear. So now put this in the chat here. What do you need to be ready to say yes? And it might even be to up level. Maybe you're like, oh, I've done some speaking, but I want to up level to this next tier. What would you need to do to get ready? And I will stop to share really quick and see what we've got, if there's anything. Diane, I don't know. Thank you for your honesty. Diane's like, I have no idea what I need to get ready. Okay, cool. Thank you for your honesty. Does anyone else have anything else that they feel like, oh, this has been on my list. I need to, get something up level speaker avatar. Yeah, there we go. Make the connection to get the request. Yes. Oh, good. Okay. So maybe make the connection, meaning talk to the people who would have you speak. Get clear in signature talk. Yeah. Okay. Chris is saying, yep. Yep. Okay. Yes. So sometimes as we get honest with ourselves, I think of the scenario of if someone's like, hey, our speaker canceled. Can you speak tomorrow? We have a spot. And let's say you're available. And I want you to be able to go, absolutely, I will be there with bells on. I've got everything dialed in. I'm ready. That's what I mean by being ready to say yes. If you're like, oh my God, I am not ready. I don't have my slides. I don't have my thing. I haven't practiced. I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about. Like, that's not ready. Okay. I want you to be able to speak in a boat with a goat, in a box with a fox, in a, house with a mouse, all those things. Like, I want you to be like, done. I can do this. That's what I mean by being ready to be ready. And you can do that. Like, you can get there, but just little ducks in rows. We just got to get some ducks in rows. I find that a lot of times if we've never done it before, we don't really know how to like Diane's like, I have no idea what I need. Why would you? Because you've not, you haven't necessarily been out there. When I started speaking in 2013, so I have a bachelor's and a master's in speech communication. I even taught at Cal State Fullerton when I was 22 years old. I taught for 2 years interpersonal communication. Fast forward, I'm 40. I'm hired to finally be a speaker, decades later. And I also had no idea. I'm like, okay, I had a talk and I had to offer because I was representing this company, but I had no idea how it all worked. And so I just kind of figured it out. But now I'm here to be like, you don't need to figure it out by yourself and, have calluses on your fingers from cold calling. Let's make it easier. Make a path that's easier. Okay, so let's go through some ways to actually find that treasure in your own backyard. One thing that's cool when people start working with me is the blinders come off. All of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I'm super clear on where I can go then to go speak. Oh, got it. I've got my direction." So I'm going to give you some ideas of where to start looking and help categorize it. So we're going to go like kind of a geographical, but I want you to consider that geographically, it's not just physical geography now, it's virtual geography. Ooh, I like that. I think I just made that up. I'm writing that down. Virtual geography. Because we're in a virtual world now with Zoom and everything, we're able to expand what's possible. So if you think locally, it's like, oh, you can even just start with where you're living right now. What's in a 50-mile radius? Is there anything in a 50-mile radius? Do you live in the middle of nowhere? Do you live in a community? I live in Southern California. I live in Orange County, which is surrounded by San Diego. I'm right in the middle of San Diego, LA, and what we call Inland Empire, and then Orange County itself so I've got 4 counties all within driving distance, like 1 to 2 hours away. So that's a little bit more than 50 miles, but you get what I'm saying. So if you live in a really high dense community, like you might not really have to look super hard. You might not have to get on a plane. Things like chambers, like again, I'll say Orange County as an example. I think there's 34 cities in Orange County. That means probably 34 chambers. If your potential clients are business owners, then chambers would be a great way. They often have events that have speakers. Not every single one's going to allow you to speak, but a lot of them will. Business groups, there's all kinds of like grassroots, like individual groups that someone just created, like in their hometown, USA, and they're like, let's get some business people together and create that group. A lot of times because of COVID, people still meet virtually. So you could do this all like I've spoken at business groups and all over the country, even in Canada, virtually. So you can be international speaker, just going virtually to local groups. If you're just getting started, there's also service groups. This isn't necessarily my target market, but service groups would mean like Kiwanis or Lions or Rotary, those types of groups. They have a speaker every single week. There's tens of thousands of chapters all over, actually throughout the world, of those kind of groups. So it's a great place to get started, great people, friendly audience. You can get video, you could probably get testimonials, so good way to practice. I do recommend not having your very first talk be in front of your ideal tippy top best audience ever. Give yourself a little bit of warm up. And heck, if your ideal clients are in service groups, well then that's great too. All right, so then let's move on to national. Now we're talking more associations, typically conferences, conventions. There's thousands and thousands of these. So the good news is there's tons of speaking engagements. The bad news is there's tons of speaking engagements. That's why I say you want to be clear on your avatar, because otherwise you could Google yourself to death. Like you could rabbit hole down a million rabbit holes. there's so many. So when you get really clear on like, what's my industry? Where am I going? What am I doing? That's going to be really helpful for you. I will even give you a little tip right now. And that is does anyone speak to associations already? Okay, Diane does. Good. Anyone belong to an association? Okay, Diane. Two points for Diane. Okay. No, oh, Linda's like, oh, wait, me too. Okay, good. You get a point, Linda. All right. So here's the thing that people don't realize about associations. I'm going to tell you a trick that I did back in the day. So I would go for, I'd hear about an association in Orange County, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm right here. I don't have to go very far. But as soon as I spoke for that association, guess what? I was also going to get a referral to. So I was speaking at Orange County. I'm going to get a referral to LA. I'm going to get a referral to Inland Empire, and I'm going to referral to San Diego. So I just turned 1 into 4. But SoCal's also bigger than that. Like, then I can go right up the coast, right? I can go over to another state if I wanted to. So you could actually turn that one association into 50 because not every state always has a chapter, but lots of states have multiple chapters. Like if you're on the East Coast, you can just, you think like, okay, states are smaller, right? So you might be going like, okay, I'm going to carve out these states here. Is anyone here on the East Coast? Okay, yeah. So you see what I'm saying? Like you can go like, oh, I'll do, train over here and or a short plane ride or a drive even, depending on where you're living. Texas, also another big state. Like maybe there's one in Houston, one in Dallas, So again, you can start to see like how you don't have to cover the entire world. You can just start going, okay, let me start to get my expansion. But when you find the association that really fits your message and that can benefit from your audience, that's where it starts to get good. Because then you go, oh, well, let me find another association like that association. Oh, maybe they have a regional conference. Oh, maybe they have a annual national conference, right? So you can just kind of ease your way up there. Is this helpful? Yes? Good? Okay, good. All right, cool. All righty. Then you can go, probably seeing where I'm going here, we can go international. And here's where you might decide you might want to create a retreat. You just love to travel. Maybe there's a certain area that you've always wanted to go to. Why not make a speaking engagement out of it? Or if you have family there, like my husband's family's from Ireland. So if I wanted to speak in Ireland, oh, that would be kind of cool. We could make an event out of that. So where can you start looking? Perhaps you've thought of some ideas just from these prompts. There are some places you're like, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I could look at associations in XYZ industry, right? I could look for something near my house. So go ahead and put your ideas in the chat because like I said, there's plenty of speaking engagements. If you thought of something, maybe it might be helpful for another person as well. Okay. I had one client who was speaking pretty reluctantly every so often and really worried about doing it perfectly. I'm not going to have you raise your hand if you're a perfectionist, recovering perfectionist either. But there was a lot of us out there, and she had hired a speaking coach a few years before she and I met and was trying to do it exactly how that person had taught her. And it wasn't working for her because it was kind of hiding who she was. And so once we were able to get her mindset around, it's okay, you're fine who you are, then she was able to actually just bring her silliness, bring her humor, bring her brilliance to her talks. Her anxiety went down. And instead of speaking once a year, she was now speaking 5 times a month. She was actively filling her programs. She actually even was a judge for a national speaking contest. And now she's in that space of where if they say, oh, hey, could you speak tomorrow? She's like, absolutely no problem. She doesn't have all that angst about it. It was really, really powerful shift for her of being able to do that. So I wanted to share with you some more tips because I know we have just a limited time today. This is free for everybody. It's at getspeakinggigsnow.com/tips. You can also if you can't see the QR code, no, I'm just kidding. It's like so big. I make that because sometimes my phone has a hard time finding the QR code. So I'm like, oh, let me just hold it up and like, let's see, like get that, let me get that cup. And if someone wants to tell me if that's working, that'd be awesome. Let's see here. Just want to make sure it's working. Okay, good. Then that's some free tips for all of you. And I will also put that in the chat in a moment. Okay.
Lisa, it is working.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's take a look at the chat here too. Okay. Yes. Excellent. Juliet just put in a really, really good tip here. She's already knows she's going on a business trip somewhere. So then she's like, oh, well, let me see if anyone wants a VIP day in that time. So that's another way you can just really maximize your time. Diane saying Women Business Owners Association. Yeah, there's something called NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners, and they're all over the country, different chapters. There's local chapters, national. Okay, you can be Diane. Newsflash: you can get booked even without a book. Okay, let's see here. I mean, before you know what I mean. You don't have to wait until I don't want to mess up your apple cart necessarily, but you could still speak and get more followers and get, build up the email list to help promote the book launch. All right. Maybe. Yes. Okay. Yeah. WPN, women's president I can't remember what WPN stands for, but there's all kinds of groups. Carol says, associations, how would I find them? Well, there's a couple ways. Of course, you can Google search it, but that will give you a huge, big rabbit hole. So I like to narrow it down of like, what pillar am I looking under? And then we can narrow it down there. And there's different techniques you could use with ChatGPT. Again, we're in the kind of the cold calling venue. So let's move on to this next piece because this might really be helpful for you because I think we don't necessarily want to always just do the cold calling route or the Google searching route. So how do you get a steady stream of speaking referrals? For me, I like to have a consistent trickle of business all the time. And versus like doing a big launch. I'm like, oh, why don't we just have consistent business always? So this is how I do it. Without cold calling and Google searching or lists, right? It's what I call finding your speaker soulmate. It's a concept that came to me naturally, organically, and I was like, wow, this is really working. So then I'm like, well, let's give it a name. How can I teach other people how to do this? So you're going to be looking for someone who speaks at a similar frequency as you. They might be here on this call. Someone you know, like, and trust. You don't have to know them since kindergarten, but maybe you meet them at a Zoom room and you think, oh, I kind of like that person, or we seem to be on the same journey. Let's see if we want to work together. Like, oh, I'm speaking, they're speaking, I want to be speaking, they want to be speaking. Let's combine our forces, right? And then the ideal scenario is that they speak to a similar audience as you, but they're not your competition. So kind of going back to that whole knowing your speaking avatar, like, oh, I love speaking for virtual events. They do too. I speak for women entrepreneurs or women business owners. They do too. Cool. Guess what? Now, if I speak to, like, say, if Diane's speaking to a NABO chapter in whatever, San Francisco, and her speaker soulmate would also be a good fit. Diane speaks in January. She's like, well, actually, I've got a great speaker recommendation if you need a speaker for February. And I'm kind of, I'm sure they're probably already booked for the next month, but like later that year, then Diane's speaker soulmate can get a spot there. And then Diane's speaker soulmate, same thing. She's speaking at groups that Diane's not speaking for, and then vice versa. So it works out really, really well. And then when you have a few speaker soulmates, all of a sudden your job just gets really easy because they're just rolling out that red carpet for you. So I want you to consider right now, like, who might be your speaker soulmate? Do you have one? Do you know where one would be? I do. I know where they might be. Because I network with speakers all the time. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who gather every month, and we actually have activities around that. It's the International Speaker Network. And this is my story right here. I was cold calling to book leads, like I told you. I was getting a lot of results, but working really hard. I would rather get results and not work super hard. And so I found 3 speaker soulmates. And now I'm consistently booked without cold calling. And I'll tell you a secret. I've been consistently booked without cold calling for over 10 years. I don't cold call for speaking engagements. Okay. Because of this methodology. So it's super worth it. And I always like deeper relationships. You don't have to like know everyone in the whole wide world, but when you connect with those key people, that can change your business tremendously. How we do that is at the International Speaker Network, we literally have speaker referral activities there. So if this is something you're really wanting to pursue, I would highly recommend you give us a shot here. You get exposure and visibility. We do speaker focused topics. Not every networking group really talks about speaking. It's not for everyone, but for the people who really want to use speaking, it's amazing. Um, and you start to all of a sudden make really cool connections. You're on podcasts with people. You're around other authors as well. It's really beautiful. So I wanted to give everyone a free ticket because I like to be Oprah and give free stuff away. So if you want to attend, you can get a free ticket here. We meet the first Tuesday of the month, and it's at getspeakinggigsnow.com/free ticket. I'll put all the links in the chat before we finish, okay? So that everyone has that. And let's just do a quick recap here. We're talking about unlocking the book ability. We're talking about finding treasure. So hopefully you found some treasure here. You're getting some ideas like where you could start looking. And then start looking for that speaker soulmate because you really want to be like, oh, how can I pull those people in 2025? Can you find two or three people who want to play that game with you? And all of a sudden, you're all three putting your efforts together and exponentially increasing your results. If you are someone who's like, yeah, I really want to do all these things, but I'm a little stuck. I'm not sure where to go. You'd like that fast track to the stage. You don't want to try to figure it out on your own. This is a link to have a call with me, and we'll talk about what holes are in the boat and how I can support you if I can support you. That's at getspeakinggigsnow.com/chat. And we are back.
Leisa, I wanted to mention I don't call mine speaker soulmates. I love that. I always love
Fun.
anything with alliteration, but I have a few that I would consider that, and you'd be amazed the calls you get. One of my friends will be on a show. They'll ask her, "Hey, do you know somebody?" And all of a sudden, they're making an introduction, reaching
Yep.
out, and I'm getting booked without doing anything.
Love
And
it. And that's yeah, you're really good at developing relationships and that's I think that's just people don't really realize the power of that. We think I've got to like find everybody and do all that and it doesn't have to be that hard. I love
it,
that.
it not only doesn't need to be hard. I think everybody on here, and I'm not aging all of you, but I think all of us on this call, we're of the age where we grew up communicating that way.
Yeah.
It's harder with that younger generation because they don't. It's a little frustrating sometimes for people our age in that, the differences. So you have to build those relationships, and they will learn at some point that they have to too.
I think there's still like this natural, connectors. Like that's one of the things I always am like, who's the connector in the room? Who's the connector, whether it's a virtual room or the real room? And that's still a natural thing. And I totally get what you're saying, Juliet. Like the younger generation isn't quite, we all have differences in how we're, raised and all that. But there still are some connectors out there that are in the, younger generation. I get this one gal, she refers to me all the time. She's amazing. So thanks for letting me hop into your group today.
No, no problem. Do you guys have questions? Everybody can unmute. And do you have questions for Leisa?
Yeah, Lisa, hi.
Has questions.
Thanks for all the great information. So I talk about health and wellness, chronic pain relief, stress relief, and a lot of other things because I've done a lot of different kinds of life coaching as well. But I'm wondering what you think about doing and I hate to use the word joint venture because I know Julia doesn't like that word, but venturing into large churches to run wellness programs to help improve the health of the parishioners there and do some revenue sharing with the clergy. What do you think of that as a strategy?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on what your whole business model is. I had another doctor ironically, he's a medical doctor, and his wife is a psychologist who's also a doctor, and the two of them do these seminars on marriage and staying married. And they're actually Jewish, but they would go to Christian churches and communities because that was just like for them, they were really, really passionate about people staying
Helping.
married and having a healthy relationship. And then they weren't, for them, the money wasn't really the top tier. It was their passion. So they would donate a lot of the resources back to the church. I think it just depends on what's important to you and why you're doing it. And, yeah.
So I've led from the stage to thousands of people.
Yeah.
The largest group is around a few hundred at a time, and teaching people what they need to know, what they need to do to become their own healers, and and they get the work done in terms of chronic pain relief and stress relief. So, but revenue generation is important to me. So that's why I would approach the pastors or whoever the clergy are and say, look, this is what I can do. I deliver this. I've got clinical research data showing that these groups are really effective. And, are you interested? And that would
Yeah.
be a cold call. But,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you might, yeah, and kind of see like each church is going to operate a little differently and the decision maker is going to be a little different. And so once you find, maybe if you find one entry point, then test it out.
yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that, they're trying to raise money all the time. So
Yes.
if you bring them a viable, helpful revenue generation, strategy, maybe they'll be interested in it. I'm not sure yet, but I'll figure it out.
Cool.
Thank you.
Lisa, oh, sorry, Lisa, when people, should you give your soul speaker
Speaker
people,
Soulmate.
speaker soulmates, would you give them your speaker sheet? And by the way, everybody on here who's a speaker, if you have a book, you should have a book one sheet as well. But would you give those too so they can readily share those assets?
Yeah. So what I would do is so funny because like I have a speaker sheet and I help my clients create their speaker sheet, but nowadays I don't use it as often. There's a link on there's a link on the site that should have your speaker information as well. But what I do is I have my speaker soulmates create an intro for me. Like, how do you want me to introduce you to the meeting planner or the person? You got to write it as if I wrote it. Like, you got to like help me out here. So the idea is to make things really easy for other people to refer you and make that introduction. And when you add like too much and like, oh, all their accomplishments, it feels a little less authentic because it's like, I know you didn't write that, or so you do want to, it's funny, like kind of almost a less is more model so that it doesn't feel salesy, right? So like, I'd say like, hey, Juliet, you're always looking for guests on your show or your your events. I met Diane Faulkner, or I want to introduce you to Diane Faulkner. She does XYZ. Maybe here's her LinkedIn profile. I think she'd be really good. And here's why, because your audience likes this and she does that. So something a little more human-y.
Okay.
And like,
And the other question I had is somebody that I work closely with told me that every time he sends his book with his one sheet out to somewhere where you have to send a hard query, that he almost 100% of the time gets it because other people don't send the book.
yeah,
And
you
that
can do that.
Yeah, and the book opens the door to, do you have an educational budget where you can buy books and bring them into the event? So there's an opportunity to sell books in addition to the other things you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then it's like, how do you ratchet up different, whether it's the speaker fee, the expenses, the book, the book, bulk book purchase. Say that three times fast.
Anybody else have questions?
I was wondering how often, Lisa, do you pay your own expenses if you were to go to the mid part of the country?
Yeah, great question. I don't. Well, my model's a little different. And again, I have my own speaking avatar, right? I don't love to travel to speak. So I'm that's just not part of my model. Here's the answer that I'll tell you that you've probably never heard anyone say before. And I run everything through a resentment filter. And that means, kind of funny, you got to keep it real. How upset would I be if I, paid for this, this, and that, flew out there, did all this thing, and got zero results? How how upset would I be? How resentful would I be? Because I'm a human. I get resentful too, right? Like it's not like I want it. It's not pretty, but it happens. For example, like I recently did a trip up to Reno because my sister lives in Reno. So I was like, well, I'm going up there anyway. It'll be great because I'll get to see her. If I have zero results, I'm totally cool with that because the most important thing to me was seeing my sister. So that's kind of my yes or no type of thing. But I say that because a lot of times I find myself jumping in front of bullets for my clients because there's a lot out there that they're going through LinkedIn, they're going to find you, they're emailing you like, we have this great opportunity, we're going to put you on this thing and we're going to have it's all and it's a bunch of hooey is what it is. So you need to do your due diligence. And I'll have clients send me like they'll say, "Hey, I got asked to speak, and they're promising me this, this, and that," and they send me the link, and so I'm gonna look through it. I'm like, "Okay, like, do you have any like red flaggy kind of feeling? Or no, this is or you know what? This is like I would be right in the seat of my potential clients this would or contacts or this would really like catapult me to this other place. Well, then now we're going to talk about, yeah, this might be worth it. So it really depends.
Lisa, can I add too? There's
Yeah.
no reason why you can't add a speaker or why you can't ask a host who else has spoken on your stage. I had a situation where I was invited to speak on a stage and it was going to cost me $10,000. It was where I could go and sell. It was a sell stage and it was someone big. And I picked up the phone and I called a couple people that I knew had spoken. And I'm going to quote, don't go there. She will rape and pillage the stage. And the people, that's how she put it, and take the money in the room before you ever set foot on the stage. And so I didn't do it. So don't feel bad. Like if you're iffy, if you got that pit of your stomach feeling, pick up the phone and find out who else. And was it worth it for you? Especially if it's a stage where you're going to pay to be there to be sponsored.
Absolutely. And alternatively, some of those opportunities are really good. I have clients who love the pay to play model because they're like, I know that the room is going to be qualified and they found a person that they trust who's going to bring in their ideal clients. And then they make, you know, over, they do well in that scenario. But you have to have a proven method. You have to have like high degree of sales. You don't just I think that's probably the biggest mistake I see newer speakers make is they think, "Oh, they promised me all this stuff and all I have to do is pay blah 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 and then I'll and no. No. If you don't have a good track record with sales yet from the stage, I would say no.
And remember those pay to play too. Usually that host takes a piece of it. So you have to work the numbers out. By the time you travel, by the time you pay the sponsorship, by the time you pay a piece of whatever you sell, is it going to be profitable for you?
Right. Yeah, and you just filter all those things through and try as much as you can to not make an emotional decision or be pressured into making a decision. That's another thing. They're really good at, there's a lot of people who are really great at sales and they'll say, well, we only have one spot, you need to tell me today or whatever. Just use your intuition and decide if that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, Lisa, thank you so much. Again, the promo cast that I talked about at the beginning, if that's something that interests you, go jump on my calendar, chatwithjuliet.com. And Lisa, all of Lisa's links will be in the show notes, but the show's not coming out for another 2 months. So if you miss them, just ping me, let me know, and I'll get those links out to you. And then next month is Tracy Hazard. You can go sign up for it now at bamagtraining.com. She's going to be talking about podcast guesting for authors and how to turn those readers or those listeners into readers. So once again, if you're looking to get booked and make some money and sell some books, these are the kinds of things you need to step into. Any
Juliet,
last words? Oh, yeah.
I just have one quick question. You mentioned something about a book sheet. I've not heard that before. What is a book sheet?
A book one sheet is a synopsis of your book. And a lot of times I'll send it along with the speaker sheet, and it will have your book categories on it, what your book's about, maybe a little bit about why you wrote the book, a testimonial about the book. But those categories are important, and the contact information where they can find you. So they're just like a speaker sheet, only instead of it's talking about your book. And it is very helpful because even though you don't have to have a book, if they know you have the book and you don't want to mail it, it is, let's say you're sending it through the internet, you just attach it and then they know, oh, Leisa has a book, which Leisa does have a book. So, I might want to book her over someone who doesn't. And that's what I was talking about, that at that point too, when they choose you, ask the host if there is an educational budget, because a lot of them, they'll have a kind of a slush fund. And you might ask them, I just ship books out to San Francisco. One of my authors does this regularly, and it's part of his paid speaking is that he gets to sign books there, and we drop ship them at the event for him to sell while he's speaking, or the person will pick up the budget. In this particular case, the place that he was speaking paid the bill, paid the invoice for the books to be shipped. So you can't carry your books in a suitcase anymore, guys. They weigh our luggage. So you have to come up with a plan B to get them there.
Thank you.
Linda, unmute yourself, sweetie.
I wanted to say this presentation was interesting and very informative. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you, Leisa. All right.
Oh, Diane has a question.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got cut off for a second, so I missed out on a little bit. But I mentioned that I had that I could be on regional television shows. I've been on these same regional television shows for like the past year and a half, talking about my upcoming book. I just feel like I should have the book in my hands the next time I, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters, but it might not hurt to mock one up. Or you have an agent, right?
Yes.
Oh, you do. So you can't get an an advanced reader copy. If I were you, I would go over to like Ingram, or I know I can do it in Lightning Source because I'm a publisher. Go in, put your book in, but put it on private. Don't mark the distribution. You can have a print only account and just upload it all if it's ready. Get it formatted, cover, upload it, and then print yourself a copy, because then you can take it.
Okay, I can do that on Ingram?
Yeah, I think you can. I don't know if you can do it on Ingram, but I can do it on Lightning Source. And Lightning Source is a division of Ingram, so I'm sort of assuming that they have the same thing. So you can do a distributed book, or you can do a print only book. And so you want to do that print only and then send yourself a copy.
Okay. Thank you. I will look that up.
Welcome. Anybody else? All right, guys. Thank you. I guess we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Leisa.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.